Hey guys, it's Red Pedder from West Coast Paddle Sports, and today we get the chance to start off our new series on Who's Who on the West Coast with none other than the Graves, who happen to be Stefanie and Clarke Graves. Now, Stefanie Graves runs a business called Aloha Designs, and Clarke Graves obviously runs Cali Paddler. We're here at their home today, and we're gonna go have a little interview and just kind of get a figure out of like who they are, and maybe get an understanding like how they are when they live on their day to day. So let's go knock on their door and see how things go. Oh.
Hey, Steph, someone's at the...
Hey!
Hey, it's West Coast.
What? What? No! We're here to see you guys!
Alright, come on in.
Alright! Let me put on my mask here. Oh, hold on. Alright. James, why don't you go ahead and go right on in. So this Clarke.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? My wife, Stephanie.
How's it going?
The Casa a la Graves. Alright. So yeah, so here we are. This is where, obviously this is a paddler's home, and yeah, it's pretty cozy home you guys got here.
Thank you.
Yeah, well thank you. Sorry we have our shoes on. We'll take our shoes off here in a short bit, if that's okay. All right. Well, so yeah, so we're gonna hang out a little bit, get a little bit of some time with both Stefanie and Clarke individually, and we'll go from there. All right.
Welcome, everybody, to where the magic happens, Cali Paddler headquarters. It's not the biggest place, but it's got a lot of soul.
So here we are in Cali Paddler HQ. So Clarke, what are you working on right now?
A lot of things. One of the cool things about Cali Paddler is I got my hands on all sorts of fun stuff. Checking out some analytics on my website traffic. We just launched a review for a product, and we want to make sure everybody in the audience is able to find our reviews and see where they're coming from, seeing if certain social media things are helping drive some traffic there. Nice. Working on some beanies because it's cold outside, or it's supposed to be. It's December. Yeah. Got some new beanie designs, and so we're making sure we got the images for the website to send to our reps that carry them in their stores. And just making sure the website is up to stuff as well. So
right on.
This is kind of where I come up with my designs and do all the fun things that you kind of see at events.
So you're essentially a one-man show for all things Cali Paddler then, huh?
In a sense, I definitely lean on the paddling community to come up with design ideas. Nothing I've come up with hasn't had influence from, everything I've come up with has been influenced by a paddler in some way. So right. I'll reach out to them and say, hey, what do you think of this jacket? What do you think of this beanie color? What do you think of this design? And then I've got a whole bunch of designers that are paddlers that'll help me with stuff too.
Nice.
So cool.
Do you have an example, or maybe I know this is completely coming up from left field, but you have an example where you leaned on a specific paddler that gave you that inspiration, and it went out and built out the product and it was successful?
Yeah, it's kind of cool that we've got this sticker board set up here because it has a whole bunch of variety of things we've come up with. But one of my paddle friends, her name is Megan. She goes by Megatron, and she's an amazing artist. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, I want to come up with something with a shark and a mermaid. And whoever sees sharks and mermaids together, but she was able to pull it off, and she designed this awesome mermaid here and shark here.
Wow.
She helped us come up with our team mascot, Gary Garibaldi. She's just one of those really talented people that you wouldn't know that somebody could do something outside of paddling, because that's all we ever talk about. And then you kind of get to know a paddler even better. And so yeah, she was a great example of me reaching out to somebody to help create the new designs for some Cali Paddler things. And everything we end up producing is from a paddler.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. So on top of that, so when you're working with the paddlers and whatnot, outside of working with paddlers, what are the things that from your own intrinsic, experience, you being a paddler yourself, right? So what are the things that like make you think, you know what, I want to, in a situation is where whatever given situation, whether you're on the water or off the water, that you're like, you know what, I need to put this in my product, or I need to get a product like this to facilitate this. I mean, I know that's kind of throwing out stuff again, but just, have you been in where have you been in a situation where you're like, you know what, I need to put this out there for the rest of the paddle community because I haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, again, the paddle community kind of drives what we do, and I can't tell you how many times I've had someone say, hey Clarke, you know what you need to do next? ... And they'd come up with some idea. We just launched waterproof jackets, especially kind of right behind you there. It's one of those things that somebody in NorCal.
Oh, that's sexy.
We don't get much rain down here in San Diego, but we're all in California. And so my friends in NorCal were talking about how wet and foggy it gets, and they wanted something that was just going to keep them dry.
Can you throw that on? Is it the right size?
If it's not, I'll make it. Yeah, line on the inside all soft and snuggly, but on the outside waterproof to protect you from the elements.
Oh, nice. That is a good looking coat.
Yeah, thanks. Just launched it, so hopefully a little small, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's something that NorCal needed, and they reached out to me and said, hey, have you come up with anything like that? And I said, no, but I can, and I will.
Nice.
So we launched it, and hopefully paddlers like it. And they'll give me feedback. They'll tell me if it doesn't work, and I'll make it better.
Right on. So have you had a situation where you had someone tell you it wasn't good, and then you had to make it better?
Yeah. You know, our paddle pants. Women paddlers know what's comfortable in the canoe better than I do. And so I've leaned on feedback about certain designs of our pants. Sitting correctly, not chafing the seams, just as a guy paddler knows. Seams in a canoe can hurt, or whatever you're paddling on. So designing things that are comfortable, that you don't realize that you're wearing, they look great and they're fun to wear, but they're also not going to leave you uncomfortable while you're out there in the water.
Nice, right on. Well, shoots, man. So, being Cali Paddler, you know, we've got a very distinct logo, right? Where you got the state of California. I mean, outside of California, has there anyone else, any other paddlers you've been able to connect with that don't live in Cali Paddler, that still rock the Cali Paddler gear?
Surprisingly enough, yeah. There's one of my favorite stories is my friend Cy. He rocks our gear all the time, bless his heart. And he was at a wedding in Florida. And he was wearing his hat at this wedding. It was a big, long table, he tells me. And down at the far end was a bunch of strangers he didn't know, but one of them was wearing a hat. He didn't know this person, but they kind of made eye contact. They kind of did one of those, They walk up to each other, big bro hug. Next thing you know, they're best friends the whole wedding.
Wow.
So it was just, the whole design is to create a bond and connection with people that share a passion of paddling.
Yeah.
And that story, when he told me that, just kind of made me happy, because that's what we're trying to do. All right, guys. Got some work to do. I'll see you later. Go on. Got some work to do.
Hey, check this. Come here. You're gonna love this, right? Look at this. Talk about some ancient stuff. Look at that, wet Akole, right? Look at this thing, it's a wet butt, right? I paddled this canoe with Clarke down up at the NAC Off the Couch race, maybe about 6-7 years ago. And I tell you, this thing created such big wake. All the surf ski paddlers were like passing us up saying, thanks for the wake. And not to mention at the same time, it ate my Akole. Like I went and paddled back to Hawaii the next week, and I felt the wet Akole on my Akole for the whole week while I was out there. It was horrible. But hey, check this out. Who's this? Look at this. What's this remind you of? James, isn't this yours?
Yeah, that's right.
Look at this thing. This used to be Noah's, yours, and now it's Ashland's. Talk about how things just stay within the community and the family. How awesome is that, right? This actually belonged to James, our cameraman, when he was young, and now it's actually Ashland's, who happens to be Clarke and Stefanie's older daughter. So how awesome is that? So cool. So cool. All right. So, and then last, we'll talk about the Stingray. So this thing, Clarke had paddled forever. And funny story is, like, it is not a very comfortable canoe. There seems to be a trend with Clarke. So what was pretty amazing is that John Acosta went out and did a campaign years ago to get everybody to cultivate enough money to get Clarke off of this thing. That's how bad this thing. No, I'm just kidding. This has a lot of great mana, but Clarke, pretty phenomenal paddler in his own right, and be able to move with something like this. And then he got upgraded to a Pueo X by Kamano Composites. Obviously, he's a lot harder to catch down than he used to be, but he paddled years and years on this Stingray, and he was able to move pretty well on it. And a couple times I paddled this thing, and I'm like, ooh, gosh, that poor guy. But yeah, but he's still holding on to this, so no matter how much I have any bemoan or disgruntled thoughts about these, have a lot of great positive mana, because obviously had a great guy and paddling these canoes and sharing that stoke with others as well. All right. With Cali Paddler, how long have you been doing this?
So I'm a graphic designer by trade, and so I've been working with clients, big and small, doing websites and apparel design and logos since forever. But when I started paddling, I kind of realized, hey, I can be my own client for the first time. I can create something I'm passionate about and create some success that I get to be a part of. So I started with my partner 2015, Cali Paddler, and we've been going for over 5 years now.
I know. So I mean, with that being said, all that, you know, so like, what was it that drove you to get you to make you say, you know what, I want to do this for the paddling community, you know?
You know, I come from a surfing background, and they got so many brands out there for surfers, and there's just so much cool factor. But I'm pretty convinced that surfers are no cooler than paddlers. I think paddlers are actually even cooler. So I wanted to kind of shine a spotlight on them. I wanted them to get the opportunity to walk around with something that's cool, that's going to let everyone know who they are, what they do for fun.
Yeah.
And create some conversation about, hey, tell me about your hat. And, oh, you want to talk about paddling? I'll talk about paddling all day long. So yeah, let's talk about it.
I know. Yeah, no, you make a really good point, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, you know, I don't really see any other brands out there that really cater to paddlers. I mean, there's things that they're water related, sure, but nothing that really stands out that says, hey, this is a paddling attire, right? And so, you know, that being said, segue into the next question, how does that make you feel when you see someone using your product?
Oh, it's the coolest thing in the world. It's part of me is thinking, well, maybe they bought the hat because it's a cool look, or the shirt, or it's functional, but part of me also wants to think that they understand our message, that we're trying to be inclusive, we're trying to get people to be part of a community. And for those that have heard our story about what we're trying to do out there, for them to be wearing our gear, it really speaks to me. It makes me realize that, hey, maybe they're a part of something bigger than just a hat or just a shirt. There's something big out there they're doing. Nice.
So you mentioned story. You know, let's expand on that a little bit. What's the story that you want to get out there, that you're trying to get across?
So, you know, every time I paddle with somebody, whether they're fast or they're slow, I end up having a good time. I mean, you're on the water, you're seeing things that nobody on land can see. And your perspective is different, the people you're with are different. And so if our story can include all that stoke that you have from paddling, that's our goal. We want the positive attitude of, I just finished a race, I'm really excited, or I just finished a long paddle, I'm exhausted, but whatever that energy is, we want to capture and promote and shine a light on that.
Right on. Awesome. You know, having been in this business for the time that you have you had any low points? And if so, what were the things that you did, or what was it that got you out of those low points?
You know, there's always going to be low points. It's a passion project to do something you care about, like paddling for me. But this year we haven't been able to do events. And events are where we make our connection. We get to see somebody after a race and share that excitement, hear their story, give that big hug afterwards and say, hey, tell me all about it. And because we haven't done events, I've lost that connection. Fortunately, I can still paddle. And so that's been my saving grace. As a friend of mine used to say, paddle what you preach. And thank her for saying that, because it reminds me, if I'm convincing other people to be doing this, I need to do it too. And so when we're not able to connect with people in person as much as we want to at events, I can at least still get out in the water and have somebody sharing that water with me and getting out there and doing what I love. Nice. And that's been actually my biggest medicine.
Right on. Well, you know, coming back from low points, let's talk about high point. Can you recall back just so far as, like, if there was a defining moment, you know, being an event or just getting out there and where you're being on the water with someone, where you said, you know what, this is it. This is I'm gonna, you know, whatever high or low points is, I'm gonna keep doing this because this is who I am. I mean, had you ever had that kind of experience?
When we a couple years back, we did a retreat where we had people from all over the country come and gather, and just kind of a conglomeration of people with different backgrounds, and they left as friends. And if we can have somebody unite who didn't know each other 5 minutes before, and suddenly lead that conversation knowing they've got somebody that every time they're going to see in the future, they're going to have that connection with, that's kind of the highlight for me. So, whether it's a retreat or a race or just coming to our event and being part of Club Cali Paddler, we call it, come be part of the scene, and that's my highlight.
I know. And you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was part of that retreat, and it was awesome. Right? And what was really awesome about it was that it was multiple watercrafts, right? And so you have this term, you know, epic, be epic, right? So I think in the sense in that you don't want to just touch on just one group of paddlers, but knowing that there's multiple watercrafts out there. So, you know, what was the driving force? I mean, I've obviously said, you know, you had multiple watercraft, but why? You know, what was it that made you say, we had to have surf skis, we had to have SUPs, we had to have outriggers, we had to have foam boards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I've paddled one, I've loved it. It's kind of like being at a buffet. You start with one item, you're like, that was good. And then you get to the next item, that was even better. Every time I paddle something, there's some similarity between them that makes me realize it's just as fun as the other. And I want to get people who've only tried one to try the other.
Right.
And that's what the retreat was about. That's what our events are going to try to be about, where we maybe have a demo here or there where someone who's been a little timid surf ski or has never understood why somebody would try prone. Well, if you try it, you'll get it. Right. And that's what our whole mantra is if you paddle, you get it.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. So, last question, how long do you see yourself doing this?
Gosh, as long as it's fun. And if I'm paddling, I want to be a part of the community, and this is a great way to do it. It's the most selfish endeavor I've done. I make so many friends just by meeting people. It makes showing up at a race or an event 100 times even better than it could be. And so my give back is to try to create that connection for others who don't know each other yet. So if you come to our booth, by the time you leave, you're going to be shaking hands and seeing each other as friends from that point on. And so long as I can create that connection, I want to keep doing it.
Right on. Well, I could say personally, you had a profound effect on me, and I will share that later on. But all in all, you know, thank you so much for all that you do, Clarke. You know, it's definitely something to where, you know, definitely not only getting that connection, but putting out the word out there that, you know what, there is a community out there that, you know, that it's not just, you know, getting out in the water, but there's something more to it, right?
There is.
You're definitely the embodiment of that special something, right? And so again, thank you so much for allowing us to come here today and interviewing you, showing us up, having us in your workspace, and taking the time for us to give you this little interview.
My pleasure, my honor.
All right, bro.